Tell me who wrote this after January the 6th. It was a dark day for democracy. The loser of the last election refused to concede the race, claimed the election was stolen, raised hundreds of millions of dollars from loyal supporters, and is considering running for executive office again. I'm referring, of course, to Donald Trump.
I wrote those words in my book in the same juxtaposition to Stacey Abrams filling that gap.
You stand by them?
So look, I think that
you went on to say Trump delivered another tale of grievance. No one likes a sore loser. One of the worst victimhood complexes of all. Said his claims about the election were weak.
So here's my point.
What he did was downright abhorrent. Do you stand by all that stuff you said about Trump and January 6th?
The reason I have a different view today is that they have been going after him. So there's a time and place to say something, okay? I tend to not say what everybody else is saying at the time. And part of the reason is what needs to be said when it's hard, not when it's easy.
But I think you were right to say it at the time. I said the same thing. I fell out with him over it at the time.
So I would have done things very differently. I would have done things dramatically differently, and I will note to you, I'm running for president in the same election as Trump.
Just to be clear.
But against the backdrop of him not being prosecuted for this, I think I take the other side of this.
You don't think he had the election stolen, do you?
Well, I think that, to tell you the truth, were the election stolen? It was stolen in a different sense of the word. And we can go into this if you want, big tech. Google and other search algorithms and the censorship information.
I think that's a very interesting point.
I think that's really where the real issue is.
As I said to him when I interviewed him, I said, you're fighting the wrong stolen election claim. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, when the New York Post story exposing Hunter Biden's laptop...
that was the real issue. That would have changed the outcome.
When that was basically vaporized by big tech to protect the Bidens and Trump's election...
And you and I both look at the same polls. Those would have changed the result of the election.
It could have changed. So there's evidence of a potential stolen election. So on that, I kind of agree.
Yeah, that's what I've said all along.
But that's not that's not the position he takes.
Well, yeah, it's fine. And we are allowed to have different positions. My position also is the 2016 election was the real election that was decisively stolen from Trump. The one that he won. For sure, decisively, everyone agrees he won. Because he wasn't allowed to govern with an impeachment inquiry.
How are you going to be... every time he gets indicted, it's quite an extraordinary situation.
And I think these politicized... If I just finish my thought...
Let me finish the question.
These indictments are wrong.
OK, but all of them?
I think all of them so far are wrong.
He's Mother Teresa?
I don't say he's Mother Teresa, but he's not a criminal.
So nearly 100 criminal charges, they're all baseless.
So the ones I've read, those are 4 indictments we're talking about, and I read each one thoroughly. OK. Each one is using...
on all?
Each one is using a novel legal theory. So even innocent assumes that the thing that's even being alleged was a crime.
You genuinely believe he's innocent of everything he's been charged with?
I think we can talk through each one. And yes, I believe the answer is innocent because the legal fiction of the charges themselves are made-up interpretations of the law that have never been used in this country.
How are you going to beat him?
By convincing voters that I have fresh legs. I am from a different generation. And we're in the middle of a war in this country, and I do believe that. We're in the middle of a war between those of us who love this country and our founding ideals.
But Trump loves the country.
And we're all on the same side of this war, right? We're all, Trump, myself, et cetera. I even think many independents and some Democrats are on the side of this war. Those of us who love this country and our founding ideals, and a fringe minority, and I do believe it's a fringe minority, who hate this country and our founding ideals. That's the real divide.
I think on the whole...
And so how am I going to beat him? How am I going to beat the rest of the Republican field? The question is, who is the right general to now lead us to victory in that war? Well, here's one of the tricks. Half the people on the other side of that war, Piers, are people younger than me who never learned those ideals in the first place. We can bring them along, too. Now we're talking about somebody who has not been wounded in that war. I have fresh legs. I am 38 years old, 5 years older than Thomas Jefferson was when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, but less than half the age of the other people who were running, many of them. So I believe I have an ability to take our America First agenda to the next level. And honest to God, I would love Trump as an advisor, as a mentor, telling me exactly where the bodies are buried in the administrative state or otherwise, to be able to go further. He rolled that log over. We saw what crawled out.
You thought about him as your potential VP?
I've thought of him as a mentor. I don't think he would take the VP job, although I haven't asked him. I'll keep it on the list, but I think that
it's
highly unlikely that he would accept that.
Are you tempted to run out and commit a lot of crimes to get indictments to get your poll numbers up?
I'm not going to do that.
I'm going to wrap up very soon. I'm going to just do a few little quick ones.
And the truth is, though, Piers, I just think it's really important that, again, you understand this. I think you understand this. I don't mean to be preachy, but there is a difference between making a bad judgment and committing a crime. And I think it is a danger to our liberty.
I'm not saying he's a criminal.
To conflate those
By the way, I'm not saying he's a criminal.
And have you read those indictments?
It is an extraordinary state of affairs where someone can face that volume of criminal indictments, and his poll numbers keep going up. I mean, in England, that candidate would be dead and buried after the first barrage of them, right?
I think
however unfair they may be.
That's on the politics of it. I think that the reality is the opposite here is the fact that all of these indictments are coming at the same time right as he's running for office, using novel legal theories that have never been prosecuted before.
I think a lot of that has merit.
Has to do with the fact that he's running.
I think they're over-egging the souffle, as I would say, the opposition.
I think they're just determined one way or another.
Do you ever hang out with Trump? Do you ever talk to him?
I've talked to him a few times. Yeah.
When was the last time?
It's been a while, yeah. Probably
how long?
Before the first debate, easily, yeah.
Do you think he should have debated? Is he being a bit gutless, not getting on that stage?
I think as long as he's this far ahead, I kind of get it. But I hope that we have a chance to have open discourse in this race. But, it's like you're the NBA playoffs, the team that's, number one by a stretch gets a bye. We're about to have the third debate. I'm focused on making sure that I'm the clear second before
I think you've been very good.
confronting the debate.
I think you're a great energizing force in the race. I've said this to you from the very start.
I appreciate
I've interviewed you in much shorter context many times. But
we've sparred. We've had our fun.
Yeah, but I like
times.
it. And also, I think you get out there and you put yourself in the lion's den, which I respect. I do respect it. And I have to say, we haven't really got into it, but all the woke madness stuff, you've been absolutely rock solid on. And I completely agree with you.
I appreciate you saying that. And the thing is, and this also about me is related to one of the other questions you were asking. I wrote the book Woke Inc. Back when it actually was a risk to write that book.
Yes, you did.
Now, the reason I don't, I share all the same beliefs, but I don't talk about it as much because, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go criticize wokeness today, right? It's the new popular thing to do.
You did write that.
It's almost what the cool kids are doing.
Yeah.
The people who are doing it today were the people who were too afraid to do it in 2020.
I think what I absolutely respect about you saw the dangers of it, and you saw that it was becoming, under the guise of liberalism, it was becoming a new form of fascism. And I think you served a valuable public service in blowing that lid up. And I feel it's beginning to turn.
I think it is too.
The majority of people are just sick and tired of it.
Well, I think this election makes a big difference in that result, just in terms of not even the laws we pass, there's some element of that, but just the tone of national character that we set in the country. Because if you think about what allows, wokeness or anything like it to fester, it's a deeper generational hunger for purpose and meaning. And I think it's been a long time since we've had a president that has revived and spoken to our national character. And that's half the job. If people grill on policies, that's just half the job. The other half of the job is, do you have an understanding of what our national character is? And then can you actually bring it back?
Well, let me ask you about your character.
And for young people, we're able to do that.
Let me ask you about your character very quickly. How rich are you?
It varies depending on the stock market. Billion on a good day and, maybe 600 million on a bad day.
US dollars?
Yeah.
$1 billion on a good day?
Yeah, maybe a little more on a good day, yeah.
Do you like being a billionaire?
I don't particularly relish the title. I am not one of these people that's been a life achievement of mine. I'm thrilled that this country allowed me to achieve everything that I have. I'm proud of my accomplishments. I don't apologize for success, but I also don't fetishize green pieces of paper. I think sometimes it's something that leads people to deep unhappiness, and I've been around a lot of them, and I'm careful to make sure I don't become one of them either. We try to live in a way that maybe would reflect a fraction of that net worth in a way that actually hopefully allows our family to avoid some of the traps that some of my wealthier friends have fallen into.
Your wife, Apoorva, I think is how she pronounces it. She said your two best qualities were your joy and optimism.
Is that what she said? That's nice of her.
What do you think of that? Is that true?
Yeah, I think I'm naturally a very optimistic person. It's funny she says that because she's the person who experiences my crankiness the most at times, but there's a joy and optimism in there. On certain days, it's buried more deeply than others,
When was the moment you knew she was the one for you?
We were hiking a mountain it was a Flat Top Mountain in Colorado. We were in Rocky Mountain National Park. And she was the one who was beating me all the way up the hiking trail. She had actually done Kilimanjaro not long before that, but we were going pretty hardcore to the top. I had been there to the top before, and I wanted to show it to her. And it was just the final maybe 300 feet, 200 feet to the top. But there was a massive snowstorm that set in. And she's somebody who's made it to the tops of these mountains before. I said I was going to go and wanted to make sure we saw that through. And she grabbed my hand and said, we're going to come back and do this sometime in the future, but we're going to have a long future together. And we turned around and we made it all the way back down that mountain.
And you knew.
And here we are, yeah.
How did you propose?
I proposed, it was actually, the real story. The cake was baked long before I proposed. I think that we wanted to get to a place where both of our families were all there. We knew what the destination was going to be. And I haven't told the story before, but she sort of said, all right, like at this point, I don't really care about the ring or anything else. If you don't get on this, you might find me proposing to you, and let's just get this over with. So I got so I was, put the perfect ring plans to one side, and we got a little ring pop, and we did it in the streets of New York City.
You got a what?
A ring pop.
What's that?
It's like a little lollipop as a ring. It's like a big ruby.
You gave your wife a lollipop ring?
She was thrilled with it.
You're a billionaire, man. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I wasn't at the time. Was working my way up. but we got her.
Did you at least go on
her red ruby ring to follow? Though.
Did you go on bended knee?
I did. Oh yeah. We went through the whole thing.
You went on bended knee?
Oh yeah, we did.
With your lollipop ring?
With the lollipop ring, yeah. It was in a nice case, though. It was a very nice case.
And what is the secret to married life?
Ooh. I think we practice, actually, is a good way to look at it. I think that if you look at every iteration as a round of practice, then that presumes that you're on the same page about the destination. You're just iterating and practicing to get to the version of perfection. And so it's never perfect, but it's about the pursuit of perfection.
And romance? Are you a romantic guy?
I maybe on a good day, yeah.
What's the most romantic thing you've ever done?
I don't know what I can't profess on my own self-romantic thing. I don't know. I feel like a little bit. I'm not a guy who's going to pat. I could think of some examples right now, but I'm not. It's not the kind of thing that I want to.
Give me a little bone.
I think
romantic bone.
I think that it was maybe one of our. I don't know how Apoorva felt about it, but our Valentine's Day gift. She's a tough one to please because she's not really into stuff. She's not she has stuff. She's not particularly into stuff. But I thought about what I could do that was better than her, which are few and far between. But I gave her a tennis lesson. And we actually went through it. And she's a naturally athletic person, but we picked something up that we were then able to do together for a while.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't. It's a small thing. I don't know.
No, but actually,
there's no big ceremony around it.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
And she loves it.
She seemed to like it. Yeah.
Who wins?
I mean, it's the sport I've played since growing up. She's a better volleyball player. That's what she played.
So you basically got her to play something you knew you could beat her at.
I had to pick something. Had to find something.
I mean,
she usually has me beat out.
Is that basically your character in a nutshell?
It's interesting. I'd have to do some Freudian introspection for that one. That might have been the toughest gotcha of the whole interview. The whole thing was leading to that.
Vivek, it's good to see you.
It's good seeing you, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, man.